Canada has huge immigration space. At a time when developed countries around the world are struggling with low birth rates, labor shortages, and aging populations, a news article about Canada has attracted a lot of attention. On June 17, demographics of Canada's population achieved a historic breakthrough, exceeding 40 million for the first time. It should be noted that Canada's population was originally equivalent to just one California, but within a year, it increased by more than one San Francisco. This number not only cheered the Trudeau government, but also shocked the financial community. Bloomberg News wrote a long article analyzing the important impact of this demographic trend in economy of Canada on the Canadian economy, and believed that the competitive advantage of labor force may be the killer weapon for Canada to get rid of the shadow of the United States. 1. Population is the source of economic vitality. As is well known, population is one of the most fundamental and important issues in the economy. Most directly, population growth promotes consumption and employment, and increases taxation. Going deeper, people are also creators of economic activities, and only with people can the economy have vitality. I believe we have the best understanding of this point. One of the core factors widely accepted in China's sustained economic growth in the past 40 years is the demographic dividend. The continuous supply of young and sufficient labor forces has made our country the second largest economy in the world. 2. Canada's long-term population strategy goal, immigration. Canada, with its vast territory and sparse population, has long recognized the importance of population and has long regarded promoting population growth as a strategic goal. The Canadian Bureau of Statistics has even created a dynamic column that constantly monitors population changes. Statistics Canada Population Monitoring Dynamics. The picture is from the official website of Statistics Canada. But as one of the wealthy developed countries, Canada also faces issues such as people's unwillingness to have children, low birth rates, and aging population. In order to achieve the goal of population growth, Canada's approach is to introduce immigrants, and the number of immigrants has been steadily increasing for many years. In 2015, the Trudeau government began to accelerate immigration, and the number of immigrants began to exceed 300,000 per year. The epidemic has disrupted the pace of immigration. After the epidemic, the Canadian government has accelerated the pace. The goal is to introduce 465,000 immigrants in 2023, 485,000 in 2024, 500,000 in 2025, and more than 500,000 later. It is not surprising to say that these years have been a historic moment for immigrants to Canada. 3. Canada's population growth has left behind G7 and other developed countries. The result of such a big step of immigration policy is a striking population growth. In 2022 alone, Canada added 1.1 million people, with a growth rate of 2.7%, the highest level since 1957 and the highest among the group of G7 countries. Only African countries have this level of growth rate. In 2022, China's population growth was negative, Japan's growth was even more negative, and the United States only grew by 0.4%. The contribution of immigrants to demographics of Canada's population growth is enormous. According to data from the Canadian Immigration Service, the contribution of immigrants to labor force growth has reached 100%, and by 2032, it is expected that the contribution of immigrants to overall population growth will also reach 100%. Canada's future development depends on the continuous influx of new immigrants. If Canada maintains its current population growth rate, the population will reach 50 million in 20 years and 100 million by 2100. 50 million looks like a very small number, perhaps just a Yangtze River Delta or Beijing plus surrounding area. But 100 years ago, Canada had only 9 million people, the United States only had 110 million people, and now it has 330 million. After the population base reaches a certain level, the population growth will be exponential. The process of population growth is the process of truly enjoying the demographic dividend. 4. Better immigration screening mechanism than the United States. Of course, population alone is not enough. Canada wants excellent and scarce talents, which is much clearer than the United States. The United States has long relied on its position as a world hegemon to continuously attract talents from all over the world. In terms of immigration, it also fully embodies its capitalist characteristics. Although its immigration policy also aims to attract outstanding/scarce talents, overall, as long as you have money, there is always a suitable immigration project for you that does not assess the applicant's qualifications. Thanks to the advantages accumulated over 100 years, the U.S. immigration policy has always been arrogant and fragmented, and there are many opposition to immigration people. The EB1-3 channels specifically designed to attract outstanding talents in the United States have also undergone a global schedule, with even EB4 religious immigrants experiencing a global schedule. The only visa program currently not scheduled is the reserved visa program for EB5 investment immigrants. But in the face of a long schedule, the United States has never really found a solution except to shout slogans, because it still has many outstanding talents who want to come in despite not needing to solve it. In a word, you may love America very much, but America doesn't love you that much. Canada, like the United States, has a history of immigration scheduling, which means adopting a first come, first served principle to introduce immigrants. The drawbacks of first come, first served are obvious, as some outstanding/scarce individuals who arrive late may not be able to enter. Canada discovered the serious drawback and began reforming the immigration policy of the quota system in the 1960s, adopting a scoring system. Those who are excellent/scarce and score high, whether you come late or early, will always be given priority treatment. Although Canada's immigration programs are diverse and numerous, they are constantly changing and highly targeted. Whether at the federal or provincial level, there is only one purpose: as long as you are outstanding enough, you are the talent I need and will always be given priority treatment. So in Canada's immigration system, there is a scoring system at both the federal and provincial levels. According to needs, those with high scores will receive priority immigration invitations. As of today, the number of skilled/skilled immigrants accounts for more than 50% of Canada's total immigration, and this proportion will continue to increase, while the data for the United States is less than 20%. What are excellent talents? Young people. Age is an important influencing factor for scoring. Those with higher education, with educational requirements, it is best to be able to directly become a labor force upon arrival, so you need to pass the language barrier and have an employer. If you are already a labor force, already have an employer or job offer, then it is even more what Canada needs. Among these factors, the first few are all self-reliant, and the most critical remaining is employer support. Canada does not have immigration programs like the EB5 program in the United States, where anyone with money can enter. Even entrepreneurial immigration projects that are very similar to investment immigration require a good business plan or creativity. It goes without saying that some provincial immigration projects in remote areas require qualified talents to come, and priority should be given to them. The result of doing so is that as long as anyone Canada wants, they will enter Canada as quickly as possible and contribute to Canada's economy. Unlike the United States, regardless of excellence or not, people have to queue up in different categories to become recognized immigrants in the United States. Undoubtedly, the Canadian approach is the key to addressing labor shortages. Because whether it's Canada or the United States, what's missing is not money, but excellent labor. 5. Greater immigration space than the United States. In addition to its excellent immigration screening mechanism, Canada also has a greater potential to attract immigrants than the United States. Firstly, Canada has vast territory and abundant resources, with few people. Whether in terms of physical location or resources, there is still a lot of space to absorb the population. Even though the growing season is short and the area used for agriculture is relatively small, Canada remains the fifth largest exporter of agricultural and seafood products. Global warming has made Canada's cold regions more livable, and more agricultural and other economic activities will spread northward, a trend that will continue. On the other hand, Canadians also support immigration and are very friendly to immigrants, with 1 out of 4 immigrants, the highest proportion among G7 countries. In contrast, the United States only has 14%, and the UK's proportion is also 14%. From 2018 to 2023, the budget for improving the language of new immigrants alone reached $500 million Canadian dollars. Canada is the country with the deepest and most systematic participation of Chinese in politics, and the overall status of Canadian Chinese is much higher than that in the United States. Canadian Chinese are a respected ethnic group. Different from the melting pot of American culture, Canada is a mosaic culture that respects more the independence and diversity of nations and cultures. All ethnic groups can get along more harmoniously in Canada. There is little discrimination, and people are more equal and friendly, caring for vulnerable groups, and the gap between rich and poor is small. These are key factors that maintain social stability and good law and order in Canada. Is it possible for Canada to surpass the UK and catch up with the United States? If Canada catches up with the United States, it may be too radical. But at this rate of development, at least in terms of economic size, Canada may narrow the gap with the United States at an unexpected rate. In terms of global influence, surpassing Italy and the United Kingdom, becoming a superpower, and being on par with the United States may not be entirely absent. If the Canadian plan predicts a population of 100 million by 2100, it is possible for the economy to surpass that of the UK. In fact, surpassing the UK requires only 60 million people. From an economic perspective alone, Canada is currently a superpower. By 2023, according to the International Monetary Fund (IMF) data, Canada's GDP ranks 8th. Although the ranking will fluctuate in different statistical times, it will basically remain at the position of 8 to 10. Top 10 countries in GDP ranking. The data comes from the IMF. If Canada ranks 12th in terms of per capita GDP, it ranks in the top 3 among major countries and 3rd among G7 countries, only behind Germany and the United States. Top 20 countries in GDP ranking. Per capita GDP of G7 countries. Among the G7 countries, Canada has the smallest population, even smaller than Italy. If the population increases to 50 million, Canada's GDP will reach another level, with a population of 100 million by 2100, making the economic size immeasurable. Population of G7 countries. As mentioned earlier, Canada is the only G7 country to achieve significant positive population growth. Canada ranks 7th in terms of population growth among G20 countries. Among developed countries, it ranks 2nd. Population growth of G20 countries. From the perspective of economic size, according to the current population process, Canada is most likely to be close to the United States. If, from a resource perspective, Canada has exceptionally abundant natural resources, and its inherent advantages determine that regardless of future economic, environmental, and technological trends, Canada will definitely become an energy and natural resource superpower. Of course, becoming a superpower not only requires economic considerations, but also good political governance and influential cultural output. Politics of Canada's politics has always been stable, moderate, and united. Historically, Canada's social changes have also been mild, with few fierce ideological struggles. Over the past few decades and hundreds of years of history, the United States has become a beacon for the world and a target for people to pursue their dreams. However, with the increasing polarization and division in American politics and ideology, the position of America First has been shaken. Today's United States has also been transformed from a one-time war, which has led to the formation of a revolutionary, innovative, and radical national character among Americans. However, Canada's only domestic war was to maintain its independence. Later, whether it was for federal unity or to maintain its independence, it revolved between Britain and the United States, relying on negotiations and compromises, which made Canadians more humble, gentle, and independent. Canada has done much better than the United States in terms of political equality, public healthcare system, and gun control, and there are no extreme topics such as abortion and illegal immigration. 300 years ago, the United States, a small country with a population of 2.5 million, began as a destitute and impoverished country, and in 2 centuries, became a major power that had an impact on the world. Canada is located on the side of the United States, standing on the shoulders of giants, and its time as a superpower is much shorter than that of the United States.